Act 32.
All right, so good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the combined open meeting for Northborough, Southborough, regionals, for all the school committees. Although I think the only thing I'm going to call to order is the superintendency union number 3, and we do have a quorum. And
You can call Southborough also.
I'm sorry?
Come on.
And I'll also call to order a Southborough School Committee, and the time is 5:33. Okay, turn it over to Northborough and Region.
I will call Northborough at 5:33 to order. We have one virtual attendee, Bryce Smith.
I will call the region to order at 5:33, noting that Kathleen Plechko, Kathleen Howland, and Jen Primack are absent, and Matt Spencer will be late.
Kathleen Plechko is online.
She's online? Oh, great.
She is. She just joined.
She is? Okay. So
Yeah, we have Bryce and Kathleen Plechko online.
So the region will have to take roll call votes soon.
Okay. All right, so before we start, I'd just like to ask everyone to observe a moment of silence for the passing of Dick Walsh. If I described all of Dick's positions and the things he did for the schools, we'd be here till 10 o'clock tonight. So I won't, but he was a long-standing employee that was really involved in a lot of different positions for the schools, and we'll miss him. So maybe we'll just take a minute. Thank you very much. First on the agenda is public comment. Please, state your name.
Stand here?
I'm sorry?
You want me to, where would you like me to stand, or just from here?
Well, I think as long as he can hear you.
No, in that corner right there. This work for you, Dan? Thank you. Mitch Cohen, 12 Whitney Street in Northborough. Next week is the Jewish holiday of Rosh Hashanah, followed by a week later, Yom Kippur. I want to thank the combined school committees for your continued support of the Jewish children and families in both Northborough and Southborough. I know later this evening there's going to be a discussion about the school calendar. I really want to thank you for the continued support over the years, and I hope that you continue that support, and honestly, I hope you expand that support for other cultures and religions in the area that I know has been discussed in years past, and hopefully will come up tonight. Rosh Hashanah is the new year, 5785 on the Jewish calendar, and I wish you all a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none. I think next on the agenda is the, oops.
We're all set. Matt's here.
Oh, okay. Next on the agenda is the NSPAC annual presentation. Melissa, how are you?
Kelly, you're in a tight spot there. Well, thank you for inviting me to speak again this year. My name is Alyssa Degon, and I'm the president of NSPAC. I do this presentation every year and provide sort of an update of what we've done over the past year. But it's pretty brief, and luckily during the school year we have our school committee special ed liaisons. I believe this year it's going to again be Roger, Kamali, Kathleen, and Kelly. And luckily, they're very active members and come to a lot of our meetings, so they can keep everyone up to date for us. Okay, thank you. So a lot of you probably know this verbatim, but I know some members may be new. So NSPAC is a volunteer-run organization that collaborates with district administration and the 3 school committees to support families of students ages 3 to 22 with special needs, medical challenges, and learning differences in Northborough and Southborough districts. We work on educational programs, we work on networking, we partner with other CPACs, we work with district administration and educators, and we serve in an advisory role to the school committee. We are not the SOS or PTO. We're really a much different body of parents. We're a state-mandated public body, serving as an advisor to school committee and district on matters that pertain to the education and safety of students with disabilities. We have a duty to meet regularly with school officials. And we do not represent families from one school, but we serve families of children with special needs from the entire school district. So we have updated numbers to share with you. So this year there are 769 IEP students in our district. And here's the breakout. We have 204 regional. Southborough Elementary Middle is 172. And it looks like more than double in Northborough, preschool through 8th with 393. And these include the out-of-district placements. So one item I wanted to touch on is, I'm sure many of you may have heard that there is a new, many years in the works, a new IEP form finally being rolled out in our school district. This is the first page of the old IEP, and this is the first page of the new IEP. So you can see it's, I mean, this one isn't filled out, of course, but it's going to be a lot clearer, a lot easier for families and educators to use together. Some of the, I know that Marie's team is going to be doing their own actual full workshop for families on October 1st, and I'm sure they're going to delve very deeply into this, and for anyone here who wants to join, of course. But some of the key features that we've noticed is there's a student vision according to the student, but what's different about that is that used to start much later in the students' careers. This is now starting in preschool. So those kids can say, I want to be a fireman, or whatever it is, and that's sort of really at the beginning of everyone's IEP now, instead of something that's added to the end. There's spots in the forefront of this new IEP for assistive technology, so it sort of makes it more of a cohesive part of the overall IEP. And there are uniquely autism-specific questions embedded throughout the IEP, which is another new feature. So again, here is an image of the new IEP, and you can see how much more concise it is. One other change I noticed, I haven't worked on it yet for my kid, but one other change I noticed is that at the beginning of the old IEPs, there would be a cut and paste section that was, over the years, they would add more and more, of your child's history. So my child's IEP includes information from like preschool, and it just adds on every year, and it becomes such a cumbersome document, and they don't include all that anymore. It's just really focused on this year, what you're doing, what your goals are. So I think it's going to be really exciting. And again, as I mentioned, October 1st at 6, right here, will be the parent workshop for IEPs from Marie and Deb's team. So this is a quick recap of what we've done the past year. We had a couple of really good speakers. These were all virtual presentations. We had a bullying, what parents need to know. We had basic rights, understanding the IEP, and anxiety in relation to learning and developmental disabilities. This is the first year we had a presentation by NESCA, and we were pretty blown away by them. I think they were really fantastic. So we are looking into, actually, we do have another one booked with them already, so I'll get to that later. We also did a cognitive connections workshop with Sarah Ward, who is an executive function speaker. She's very well known. We co-sponsored with about 15 other CPACs. So since it was virtual and she had no limit to how many people could join, it was kind of a win-win. Every district wound up paying about $50, and she costs thousands of dollars, so it's pretty amazing. And we also invited Student Support Services to join our general meetings this year. As far as community building, we had a few social events. We had Parents' Night Out, we had Coffee and Connects, and then our sort of special different event this year was a Paint Your Own Pottery Night in Northborough, which was super fun. We also hosted our 14th annual Go the Distance Awards, 53 recipients this year. We again had a performance by the Unified Singing Club, and we featured a high school spotlight speaker and also a high school student who helped present some of the awards. And we added another new thing this year was an art show. We decided to hold the awards this year, instead of in the cafeteria, we moved it to the auditorium. And then we held an art show in the, I don't know what you call that space outside of it exactly, sort of the hallway, but it's a big hallway. And I think it was really fun, and I thought it lent like a different feel and vibe to the event, while still giving such a big space. Parents, I could see families kind of going in and out during the event, so it still allowed for the movement that some families really like. We again had donations of photography. We had a new presenter this year, John Morse, who is a parent, also a parent of some students here at the high school. We had sponsorship from Wegmans, a lot of help from Northborough Junior Women's Club, and the high school technical and janitorial staff, which are amazing. And here are some pictures. You can see how awesome it looked in the auditorium. We have a couple of events planned for this fall. We ironed them all out after I sent this in, so I'll just read them, of course. We have our first general meeting is September 25th at 9:30 at the Northborough Library, and Student Support Services will join. We also have a Coffee and Connect October 23rd at Panera. It's kind of a nice meetup between the two towns. We are booked for a transition planning workshop with NESCA, which is what I mentioned before, and this is co-sponsored with Neshoba CPAC and maybe one other CPAC. And one other item we're working on is, so we're part of a MassPAC partnership, I guess you call it, like a membership through Federation for Children with Special Needs. And with that membership, they give us one free basic rights workshop per year. And even though we did Understanding the IEP last year, we're going to do it again this year because they're going to be incorporating the new IEP, so it's kind of a win-win. So we'll do that in November, so that way, hopefully, we can get in the schedule. That way, if families aren't able to attend our districts in person in October, this is another option for families to get information. It's just families are going to learn about the IEP in their meetings anyway, but it's better to not waste your precious IEP meeting time trying to understand the form. We are continuing with all of our typical ways of reaching out to the community, with monthly meetings, with the district and our school committee liaisons. We had a table at the Early Childhood Fair at the Finn School in June. And we are planning actually, and we just had one of our board members speak at the Finn kindergarten orientation, which is a nice way to sort of spread the word to new families. We are planning our Coffee and Connects. We are on Facebook. We have our website. I do some PR, and we also disseminate information through Parent Square. The final piece I want to touch on is sort of another new way we're sort of piloting and trying to see if this works for families to reach out to us. Parents can email NSPAC at our Gmail website at any time, but often that doesn't happen, and we sort of hear about things through Facebook and complaints, but I don't think that's representative. As you see, there's over 700 IEP families in the district. A couple of Facebook comments is not indicative of the whole. So we created basically a Google form that families have the option to fill out anonymously if they wanted to just share something with us, or not anonymous, with the option for us to follow up with them or not. And then we can relay anything that we're finding to the district as sort of another venue to share learnings, good or bad, of what families are experiencing. And that is it. This is our new board. We have one new member, Andrea Hamilton, who is our technology officer. So now we're up to 5. And that's it. Let me know if anyone has any questions for me.
I have one.
Yes.
On the, it was the last slide, the concern log.
Yes.
Now, I know you work with the district, NSPAC works with the district. Is this also working with the district? Is this, what's the intent? Is this totally separate?
Well, it's.
Where does NSPAC want to go with this? I'm just curious.
This is not a district initiative.
Okay.
No. Right. This is a separate piece. We've actually changed it to a concern form, not a log, because that's very confusing. I'm sorry, what is your question?
Well, I mean, is this something that'll be done with the district or totally outside? I'm just trying to we had a brief chance to talk about this before you and I, but we never really pursued it, so I'm just sort of curious on how far you've matured your thinking on this.
Right. So far what we've gotten to is we've launched it, we've had one feedback, one log, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
But the intent is to share what we're receiving with the district in our monthly meetings with them. We're not representing that we are fixing everybody's problems. It is another way for families to communicate. We also do reiterate above the form that families can, of course, always use their usual methods of communications to talk to their liaison and district. We're not replacing that. And we'll see. This may just become a nothing. I don't really know. I think it's something we can sort of see how it goes.
You're walking before you're running on this,
I guess so.
Thank you.
So can I add? So
Yes.
Appreciate the opportunity to hear from parents, and it's another avenue. I think one of the things that Alyssa and the team talked about is having a preamble before the form around what's the process if you have a concern. Reach out to your liaison, convene the team, so that people know what the channels of navigating a concern about a student and an IEP. So that is in the form, and we'll continue to partner with NSPAC and see what information this yields and see if there are any patterns and trends.
Because I think it's in everyone's best interest if the parents aren't confused, about kind of how they get information to wherever they're going to get it to. But okay, thank you.
I have a question. Do you, so seeing that there's almost double the amount of students and families in Northborough, the board makeup is largely Southborough. Are there some extra avenues that you're thinking about to make sure you reach out to support the larger volume that's there?
We don't have a plan. There's always the hope and dream to have more Northborough involvement. But that's a good point. Maybe it should be a little more direct, Do you have ideas?
I will bring them to the NSPAC
I
meeting.
would say that when it comes time usually we hold our elections in June, and when it comes time for that, we sort of advertise that the same every year, and then we sort of get what we get. But maybe there's a way in the Northborough schools for those principals to I don't know, sort of push the message a little bit more, because it's a good point. We have one board member who is a Northborough resident, but the rest are Southborough, and we rely pretty heavily on her to tell us what's going on. So yeah, that was a good point. Thank you.
Joe?
Thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful. And I'd also like to thank you for the 14th Annual Go the Distance Awards, which I attended, and I believe Kelly attended and Lauren attended. It was really wonderful. Besides the awards going, it's also the interaction of the students with their teachers. Some of the elementary kids are going up when they call the teachers, and they want to go up there right there with them. And I think that you even had a high school student who was even an MC and did a fabulous job in the music and everything. It's great to see that interaction and to see the close connection that those kids have, because we all have those favorite teachers, and it was very evident, and it really touched my heart. I like to see the new IEP form that you have. I love this section that has about the student vision. I think it's great that the kids, again, just like making the connections with their teachers, they're coming up with their own goals instead of, and you hear what they want to be. Like students ages 3 to 13, they say, this year I want to learn. By the time I finish elementary school, I want to. And that's probably some goals that they have for themselves. I mean, I was just at the NEF Grant Award program over at the library with some of the members of the administration. Greg was there and the principals. And, one grant that was given out was for the middle school, the robotics team. So I could see if somebody is in, that program and they're coming up there doing the IEP, I could see them say, by the time I finish middle school, I want to be in high school and I want to be on the award-winning robotics team. And that gives some direction that everybody, along with the principal and guidance counselors and Marie Allen, look at that and then see where to put that student's vision and to put his interest into and make him want to come to school and to be in school. So I think this is great. I hope to attend, Marie, I hope to attend that October 1st meeting and learn more about this new IEP. I'm very excited. But thank you for your presentation and all your involvement. Thank you.
Anyone else? So I'll echo Joan's thanks. Thank you very much for the presentation, Alyssa. Very interesting. Next up is Superintendent's 2024-2025 evaluation.
So it is hard to believe it is mid-September, and I am presenting my goals to the committee for the 24-25 academic year. So this evening I will share the evaluation process and key timelines, and then I will review the goals that I identified to focus on for 24-25 and take any feedback. And I did read all of the evaluation forms from the end of June and incorporated much of the feedback into my goals for this upcoming school year. So in terms of the evaluation process, one of the most important responsibilities the school committees have is to evaluate the superintendent. The evaluation process is dictated or organized by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, so every superintendent across the Commonwealth goes through the same process. The process mirrors the same evaluation process that educators and principals experience. So what you see is there is a continuity and a through line between evaluation of an educator, of a school or district leader, and the superintendent. The evaluation process, similar to principals and educators, is a 5-step process. It begins with self-assessment, so there are standards. So it's a self-assessment against those standards. That self-assessment really helps determine areas for focus and growth. After the self-assessment, it's analysis, goal setting, and plan development. So over the summer I do meet with the chair, so I did have a chance to meet with Chris Cavino, the chair of the union, and Roger Chow. Actually, Chris, the chair of the region, and Roger Chow, chair of the union, to talk about my thoughts and my assessment and review some of the goals. From that meeting, I did develop the goals that are before you this evening. Throughout the year, work on implementing the goals, making sure that I'm following through with the action steps, providing updates and feedback, and receiving feedback from you. And then the year ends with a formative assessment evaluation from the committee, and then which leads to a summative evaluation. So it is a 5-step process, and again, this process is mirrored by educators as well as principals and directors. So in terms of the 24-25 timeline for the evaluation, so this evening I'll present the goals to the committee for feedback and review. At the December 4th combined meeting, I will provide an update on progress toward the goals. And then March 12th, I began preparing for an end of cycle report focusing on the goals and indicators. And then we send out a Google form to all the committee members to complete. That is an opportunity to provide input and feedback around progress toward those goals that would be used for the summative evaluation. The regional chair and the union chair have the task of organizing all of the feedback to create a summative evaluation, which then is presented at the June 16th combined school committee meeting. So it is time-bound by dates, and these dates are set by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And I just wanted to be clear about what the milestones are. At any point in time, someone can ask for an update on a specific goal or progress toward a specific action. That always is an option. And then this is the sample form that Cheryl Lepre has masterfully organized that makes the process of collecting feedback and data from the committee members more seamless, and I think it helps actually draft the summative evaluation. It's really a nice tool, so just a thank you to Cheryl for continuing to refine this tool and organize this process. Any questions about the process?
Yes. Between September and December, are you open to making changes to those goals based on feedback from the committee?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we talk about goals, goals are dynamic. So as our work changes and flexes and challenges or opportunities appear, there are times to adjust goals. But I will say that the date from September to December is very short. So it's I've been, quite frankly, I've been working on my goals since July through August and presenting the goals now, but there's always an opportunity for feedback.
John has a question.
Let me follow.
Just Kathleen Howland joined.
Yeah, Kathleen Howland joined.
So, does Kathleen have a question or a
No,
comment?
she just joined the
Just
meeting.
joined?
Yep, she's all set for now.
John has a question.
Yes, Joe.
Not a question, but a comment. I mean, every year that we've done this, and this is great that Cheryl Lepre has done, but I'd also like to thank her for the tutorial and the support that she gives to the two chairs. You guys know so well, especially you, Roger, is that she's a wonderful source and support person as we navigate that when all those evaluations come in. And she's our tech person who helps us through it and gives us tutorials and how it's going to be done and how we can get the information. So kudos to Cheryl Lepre.
Okay, so I want to follow on to Kamali's comment. So Chris and we've communicated with the superintendent, and it really was about this first period, this from now until that short period of time, the December meeting. And he's open to some additional, input from either Chris or I or school committee members, because there's a lot to digest, to be able to expect that there'd necessarily be all kinds of comments tonight. It's not meant to be a moving target. I mean, that's one thing to keep in mind. But if you have something you really feel strongly should be modified, I guess the best process way to do it is to go through would it be to go through your chair?
Yes.
And then the chairs can identify it to person and will. So again, it's you know, his goals are comprehensive, and it's really not supposed to be a moving target, but we, you know, there could very well be some things that people want to identify before, far enough before that December meeting, so that we can communicate that to Greg. Is that, I think, consistent with?
And oftentimes the goal might be fixed, but the actions might change. So there might be.
Very true, and there could be, quite frankly, you know, based on sometimes there is something that some of these goals are long term, and they even sort of they even span just this year. Okay, it's part of this goal this year, but in some cases there might be something that really we didn't know about, but it does need to happen this year, and we don't expect that we can roll that into April communication with the superintendent. But if we know now in the next month or so, hopefully, you know, we can discuss it and hopefully move it forward. That makes sense.
So I can speak a little bit about the goals I've selected and the rationale behind the goals. First, I will say that the district strategic plan is the cornerstone of the work we do as a district. The goal really, if you look at the district strategic plan, you'll see a through line between educator goals, school improvement plans, principal and director's goals, and the superintendent's goals. So we try to build a through line so that we are rowing in the same direction in terms of achieving the goals outlined in the strategic plan. So my goals focus on the five strategic objectives: empowering learners, equity of opportunity, healthy and balanced learners, educator learning and leadership, finance and operations to support teaching and learning. Additionally, I will focus on 4 standards. So part of the superintendent's evaluation and the rubric is to have focus standards and indicators. There are many standards and indicators, so part of the evaluation process is selecting a few to really hone in on. So I selected under instructional leadership evaluation to provide effective and timely supervision and evaluation in alignment with state regulation and contract provision. So evaluating principals, directors, and direct reports is one of the standards that I'm focusing on. In terms of management and operations environment, really focusing on developing and executing effective plans, procedures, and routines and operational systems that support all students to thrive academically and socially and emotionally, and implement a cohesive approach to recruitment, hiring, induction, development, and career growth in support of a diverse and effective workforce. In regards to standard 3, family and community engagement, sharing responsibility, continuously collaborates with families to support student learning and development both at home and school. And lastly, under standard 4, professional culture of continuous learning, develops and nurtures a culture in which staff members are reflective about their practice and use student data, current research, best practices, and theory to continuously adopt and adapt instruction and achieve improved results. So those are the 4 standards and the focus indicators that I selected. And those were selected through a self-assessment process and also looking at the feedback that I've received in the 23-24 summative evaluation. I think significant work to mention moving forward this year is moving through the feasibility phase of the Neary building project. That is a significant amount of effort and lift and really requires a central office leadership and effort. So that is something that we are working on, and it is a goal of mine. Also launching the Peasley building project and moving through eligibility and feasibility. So anytime you have a large-scale potential building project, it is a significant lift and significant effort of us at central office. In terms of specific actions and goals that I've selected, so this year, based on feedback that I received during some of my summer meetings, I tried to be more targeted and specific around what my goals are and what the actions are and how they'll be measured. So for each action, you will see mid-year evidence as well as end-of-year evidence. So that is how I'll be benchmarking progress toward, and when I update my goals to the committee in December, that is something that I'll report back on some of the feedback. I think that in terms of some of the work, highlighted in the action steps, I won't read through them. You have the goals in your packet. I think, again, they align with the strategic plan, the 5 strategic objectives. They are targeted and action-oriented, and I believe measurable and time-bound. So at the end of this year, you'll know, was that particular goal or action achieved, even though the larger goal might require more work in future years. So again, at this point in time, I would be happy to entertain any questions or feedback around the goals.
Joan?
Sorry. I have a question on the first standard, instructional leadership. Of course, I've been involved with teacher evaluations, and that's easy. You arrange a time for your principal to come in and observe you, because that's what you do. 7 periods a day, you're teaching students. How do you do the evaluation of administrator when their role is so more encompasses some more? I'm not going to put Marie Allen on the spot over there, but she works with the NSPAC, she works with staff, she goes at IEP meetings. Do you select one thing that you want to look at, or do you come together to do that? Because she is all over the place, and there's so many roles and duties. Do you select one for a goal for the year?
So it's
All over the place in a nice way.
yes.
Yes, in a nice way.
So the
She's smiling, she knows.
Good, okay.
So the process, again, parallels the role, evaluation process for a principal or a director such as Marie. They have a rubric and standards, and they do a self-assessment and identify indicators that they want to focus on for this upcoming year. We also go through a goal-setting process. What are the goals? And they set goals and action items. So we begin the year with that process. And then from there, it's supporting the work. It's meeting with principals and directors on a frequent basis to understand what the work is, where the successes are, where the challenges are. It's attending meetings that they're involved in to observe how they're leading meetings. It's engaging in their work in other ways, being actively engaged in NSPAC meetings with a leadership team. So it's really self-assessment, goal setting, and then joining the work. It's meeting, observing, getting into classrooms with principals and directors, talking about what we're seeing, and from that process, principal or director creates a body of evidence. We review the evidence, we talk about the year, and then a summative evaluation is created, much similar to how the superintendent is evaluated.
Okay. And my last question is, how many directors and are you involved in the evaluation, or do you share that with Stephanie?
So it is shared.
Okay.
The district leaders, the district directors, I am the primary evaluator, and then principals, we alternate. So every other year we alternate who is the direct supervisor and the indirect supervisor. And then obviously we get feedback from other directors, Keith and Becky, around what they're observing as well.
That's another real heavy load if when you're thinking about it. Never thought about all the other things that you all have to do, but then also that you're sole directors. Last question, very last. Is it a 2-year cycle as it is with teachers? Is it, what I mean? There's one you have a formal observation, and the other one it's a self-reflection on the second year.
So it is an annual cycle, so every year it's
every year.
My evaluation, it's a 1-year process. However, a lot of times directors have short-term, 1-year goals and stretch goals that span over multiple years.
Thank you, because that's really going to help when I have to write that evaluation in April, May, June. Thank you.
Now, I should recall, but instructional leadership this isn't just a this year goal, right? This is.
No, but it's really, my goal this year is to really focus on making sure that the feedback principals and directors are receiving is timely, that it is impactful and helpful, and that there's a cadence of that feedback in the meetings and me working with principals to really understand their work. So it's just, my goal this year is to get more involved in that responsibility.
I have a question.
Thank you.
This actually, what you just said might have been responsive to my question, because clearly a lot of thought went into setting the goals and the thread of which you tie it through to the strategic plan for the district. I suppose that the one question I might have for you is there anything you wish to share to the committee in terms of the approach that you took this year versus in setting your goals versus maybe the approach that you had taken in prior years?
In terms of my goal setting, I did not take a drastically different approach to thinking about what my goals are. I will share the one difference is I tried to make them more time bound. So at the end of this year, I can report to the committee, this is the progress on the school. So that it's not, I think some of the feedback I received was like, it's hard to tell if you met that goal or not. People understood it was a stretch goal, but wanted to know what was the expected progress toward a longer term goal in that time frame.
A simple question, I think. I noticed implementing the Say Something reporting tool is in here for grades 4 through 12. I thought we already had it, but was that just at the high school?
It's at the middle school, it's 6 through 12. So part of the work we're going to do is implement it in grades 4 and 5. And also, it's not only a communication, it's a reporting tool for our students. It's also a reporting tool for our parents and our families. Right. And we haven't really marketed it in that way. So we're going to be marketing it to parents pre-K through post-grad at the high school, so that if a parent has a concern or sees something, this is one more mechanism for a parent to report something that is concerning.
Good, not for it.
Are we good? Molly?
My question earlier about making any additions to the goals was really preempted by me thinking that I would like some more time to review them in detail, and also marry it with, one, thank you for everyone that actually voted for me to come back to the school committee for this year, but in this short period of time, I want to take what we've learned from the Southborough School Committee's independent audit that was done, as well as like lessons that I learned from the chair that was done from May till now, to just make sure that they're also embedded in here. And so I'm glad to hear that, I have an opportunity to kind of share that through the chair. One of the ones that stood out to me was just under equity of opportunity and under the evidence. Number 3 said, implement the Power School discipline module to track discipline data. That's great to hear, because that's like a new evidence capability. But that might be one that I would like to suggest another bullet under. I don't know what it is yet, but just for transparency, I want to say. And then there was another one that was also under equity of opportunity. It says number 6, and it is the to learn from the experience and make improvements in the processes as a result of the nearest school incidence of 2023. And so, or is it 24? It's 24 actually. So it just, has mid-year evidence and end-of-year evidence, and I just might want some time to just possibly suggest any additional bullets under there. I think what's written there is good, it's top-heavy, but, so that's all, just wanted to share that.
Can I just make a general comment? So when you do have time to kind of digest these, you'll notice that the action plan that was developed for the Southborough School Committee as a result of, I did incorporate all of that work that aligned with the 3 districts, that was cross-cutting across the 3 districts into my goals. So you should see a one-to-one correspondence in this document when you read it.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, and thank you.
To accept as is, or?
Yeah, we do have a vote on the agenda for it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go, we'll
Do know because,
well, no, I
I think
think,
that's a good question. I'm just, if we vote, they are the goals as they stand. If
Yeah,
there's a reason to modify based on feedback, then we can reapprove the modified goals, or are we not comfortable?
I think, again, what people think, I think we should vote on,
As is,
well, what is in the packet, okay? That doesn't preclude us, from voting on a modification. And, Kamali's points are well taken, as far as there could be some other things that we just didn't know about for this meeting, okay? And also, on the other hand, this whole moving target concern I have, and it is not at all meant to constrain anyone from, if you see something that you think should be a modification, let's get at it, okay? But as the superintendent mentioned, his goals kind of go downstream, right, to other folks in the district, and so if any changes that might affect them, then would have to be modified also. So, but I do think, I think that we're scheduled to take a vote on what's been in your packet tonight, and accept them. Doesn't, as I say, it doesn't preclude, won't preclude a change that would be voted.
I have a question. I'm not sure a change would need to be voted. I mean, these are goals. They exist as they are. We vote on them. If you want to add things, I certainly wouldn't have a problem with that, I don't know that we need to vote on it.
Yeah, I think that the actions are dynamic, like again,
Right.
as you have a goal and the school year progresses, opportunities arise that you want to capture and include and incorporate. So I think whenever we talk about our school improvement plans and our strategic plan, those are designed to be dynamic documents. I think the superintendent's goal should be dynamic in terms of we should be able to adjust the action steps to address any changes that are happening.
So if there were another goal, are you suggesting that we don't need to vote on that?
I don't recall ever doing that. Like I said, I mean,
I don't either,
if you want
but-
to add stuff to your plate, it's good for the district. Have at it. I mean, really, you do that every day. I mean, you do things that you think you should do.
I don't remember much change from September to December, and there's still a possibility here, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I guess we wouldn't have to preclude, we don't really have to preclude whether we vote or not,
Right.
okay, at
I
December.
mean, when it happens, if it seems worthy
Yeah.
of a vote, then we take a vote.
Sure. Sean?
I think the keeping in sight the end goal is the evaluation of the superintendent at the end. And these goals are things he's developed to focus on this year and help the district focus on. But it doesn't preclude the committee from commenting on anything else. The rubric is the rubric, and all the elements apply all the time. These are just focus areas. So So I'm not sure, unless there's something really substantive that's missing, I'm not sure we need to come back and vote as a committee. It could be added as action steps and so on, but I think always other elements can be commented on in the end process anyways.
Sure.
I think the process of you working, the two chairs all the time annually, the union chair and the regional chair, working with Greg, as it's stated, is to work on the goals. If there's a modification, it would come from the three of you working together, okay, onto that. And I think you can bring it back to us and you could enlighten us on it. And, and I think that, let's say, for example, if the Commissioner of Education or the Department of Education comes up with something that, now superintendents have to do this is a new law, this is what you have to do, then we have to incorporate that somehow. So I think it's like Greg says, it's dynamic, it's living. I trust you guys to, the three gentlemen, to work together and make any updates as needed as we go on, or anything that Kamali has to add because of that to be in a report, that's fine. But I think coming back with app updates is good. I agree with Paul. I don't know if we really have to vote for it, but it could be all of us deciding, well, let's just take the vote just in case. So we always are good at discussion.
I don't think we have to make that decision.
Right, we don't have to make it
Till the
tonight.
next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Roger, can I make a motion that we approve the superintendent's 2024-2025 evaluation and timeline and goals as written today?
Motion has been made.
I'll make, well,
And would we have this motion from all the committees?
yes.
I mean, we have to have at least from two of the committees. Okay, so there's been a motion made from Southborough. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion for the region.
So moved.
Joe,
Same
second.
motion?
And second, Paul, same motion.
I'll entertain a motion for the union.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. And is it Northborough?
Northborough's nice.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? I guess we'll go. We'll have you take the votes. Northborough, you want to take your vote?
Yes, Northborough, Bryce,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Lauren.
Yes.
And myself is a yes, passes unanimously.
Region?
Region, I'm going to do people that are here, and then I'm going to do the remote. So, Joan,
Yes.
John, Matt,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Paul. Yes. Jen.
Yes.
Kathleen Polichko,
Yes.
and Kathleen Howland,
Yes.
and I am a yes, passes for the region unanimously.
Okay, well, I have it easy. So, let's see, for Southborough, all in favor, just raise your hands. Passes unanimously. And for the union, all in favor, raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. Ready to go to the next agenda
I am.
item, which is, I think it's the calendar, am I right? The
Calendar advisory.
calendar advisory working group update.
Sure. So the calendar advisory working group convened last winter with the goal of really thinking about the 25-26 academic calendar and where to place the 180 days. The advisory working group met 3 times, once in April, and then in May, and then in June. The first meeting really centered on what are the criteria and the goal of a student calendar, and also learning about the different religious observances from different faith groups and what it means and what type of time commitment it requires. So we spent time learning about just learning together. The second meeting, we looked at other district calendars in the area. We looked at how they placed vacations, so February vacation, April vacation. We also looked at how many half-days they have for professional learning, and also religious observances, which were non-school days. That was the second meeting. The third meeting was really taking all that information and crafting 3 draft calendars for the calendar advisory working group to kind of consider, and talking about the advantages and disadvantages, and then also thinking about the criteria that we set and which calendars met or did not meet the criteria. The working group is continuing its work. The next meeting is October 17th. From the last June 6th meeting, there was some feedback around adding a 4th calendar. So a 4th calendar will be added and discussed at the October 17th meeting. The goal is to present to the school committees a couple of, or 2 to 3 calendars for its consideration. We will provide a recommendation from the calendar advisory working group, the advantages and disadvantages of each calendar, and ultimately it is the committee's responsibility to vote a student calendar. So we hope to provide you with some good information, with a recommendation and some calendars to consider at the December meeting.
How much ahead of the December meeting will people not on the committee, on the working group, have opportunity to review?
So I think what probably would be best is after the October 17th meeting, that at each of the individual committee meetings, we can provide a quick summary and some information about some of the draft calendars to get additional feedback in preparation for the December meeting. Thanks.
And I think, so the December combined meeting, did you say it's the 4th? No. It would come after.
Yes,
It is?
I have to double check. I believe it's the 4th.
So that comes before the individual meetings in December, but all of the individual committees would meet in November, which would be after.
Is it the 7th
After the
or
working
7th?
group.
I have the 7th in my.
So it was changed the 7th. We decided to move to the 17th.
Okay.
I think it's the town meeting, special town meeting for.
On the 7th.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we try not to conflict.
Questions on that?
Do you have a question from Bryce?
I've got my hand. Yeah.
That's
I
Bryce.
can't see, okay.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Greg, can you give us some idea of whether it's 3 or 4 variations of a calendar, if that will have something that will represent either a flat, increased, or decreased number of school closures for religious observation?
So the committee has reviewed 3 different versions of a calendar, and the 4th hasn't taken a look at. That is the goal of the October 17th meeting. The way we're looking, the calendar advisory working group is looking at the 180 days, is how to place those 180 days from the contractual obligation and the date we can start school to June 30th, where those dates are best placed. So it's not really looking at, so that's where we are right now. And we're looking at what the impact of having more, for example, half-day professional days, what impact it has on the end of the school year. We're looking at where religious observances fall in the calendar for the 25-26 school year. So I think it's too soon, Bryce, to really report anything out to the committee.
Bryce?
So no insight into whether there are plans coming at us that will have an increase, a decrease, or no change?
So those are still being discussed.
Thank you.
Those are the different options, and if you mind, I think. So there's, right now on the table, one is like, one of the versions is basically like no change from what we kind of operate on. Another version we're looking at is if we were to remove a few holidays or add a few holidays in, things like that. and then one is, removing everything and having, you know what I mean? Like, so there's like all different types of, and we're discussing the pros and cons and the, where's the best fit for the community and how the community feels on it,
But
with
to-
the feedback we've had previous years.
But to be responsive to Bryce's, I thought, specific question, there is a version that I guess we could consider it
Currently,
flat
we've got
as far as not many
Currently, there
increases or
was four
decreases.
on the table,
Right,
but
there's all
the
kinds of
idea is that we
versions.
would whittle them down.
Right.
So we would come with the best options for the school.
So-
So currently, yes, there's one option is presented with removing every holiday
Right.
observed.
That is not what Greg just said.
So I just want to be respectful of the calendar advisory working group.
Yeah.
It is working through the process. It needs to continue having conversations and discourse. This evening, I'm not prepared to share much information other than the calendar advisory group has held 3 meetings. We're going to be evaluating calendars and making a recommendation to the committees. And the next pivotal meeting is really October 17th. That is when the work will continue.
Sean?
So just to be clear, we're anticipating a vote at the December meeting.
So we'll present, so we'll present
Okay.
calendars for discussion.
And then a vote
The March
later.
meeting will be.
March, okay. That gives, I think, that alleviates my thought of like, I'm gonna have to really have it all studied and ready without a presentation. So we can have information and then some time for discourse. Okay, thank you.
Correct. And the last thing I'll share, the one thing that the committee will receive in December is a placement of vacations. So when our February break, when is April break, so we can share that information with the community. That's usually information families want, parents want, so they can schedule their vacations in a year in advance.
So just to recap, so the timeline is the study group is on the 17th of October. The results of the study group, at least, will be presented to and not for a decision or anything, but will be shared with the individual school committees in November. And then there'll be kind of a presentation, if you will, in the combined meeting in December, but no vote's going to be taken until March.
Perfect.
Good?
Yeah.
Roger, Bryce has another question or comment.
Okay, Bryce.
Okay, Bryce.
Yeah, Greg, I appreciate your comments there. I guess I'm going to push it just a little bit. Who, as you have described, or what groups, as you have described, is this policy committee, calendar committee talking to? So you say as they're engaging with lots of different folks, who are they engaging with?
So it's a diverse body. It's educators, it is families, school committee members, students. It's religious leaders, clergy. So they each are speaking with their constituents and getting input and feedback on calendars. And we also have school committee representation. So Kelly is on the committee, Kamali is on the committee, Kathleen Fletchko is on the committee as well, and Lauren.
You skipped me.
And Roger.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Sure.
Are the minutes or recordings of the meetings or anything available or posted anywhere for people?
So we do, so they're not public meetings in the sense that we don't need to post them. People are welcome to attend. We do have agendas and the notes and the products from those, so we'd be happy to share those with the community and the public. The committees. I just want to be careful that the committee's working through a pretty rigorous and thorough and thoughtful process to make a recommendation. I just want to let that process continue at this point.
Okay, clarification. Is it a working group or is it a committee?
It's a working group.
So let's be clear. So no minutes are required.
Correct. It's not a...
It's a working group.
It's a working group. Calendar advisory working group.
GPS signal lost.
It's unfortunate.
We lost our way.
So where are we?
Can I say-
Geographically?
Yeah,
Okay.
all confused.
I do think that, like, knowing that there's a representative from each, each area, that if you have questions, concerns, if you're here, if there's something that you want to be considered, then email the chair, email Kelly. I would myself, I offer that, feel free to email me. I don't know if anyone else wants to offer themselves up, but feel free to email the folks that you know are school committee representatives on the working group, and we should be able to bring that to the forefront for consideration. This is not the time to be quiet or shy about your concerns, right? So we're making a decision that's going to impact a lot for a long time to come.
So I want to echo that as
Yeah,
well.
thank you.
So not just school committee member to school committee member, but anyone in the community, right? So people on this working group are voices in our community, and bringing those diverse voices to the table so that we can make educated decisions. Thanks, Molly.
If I can piggyback on that, because I appreciate both of those comments. I think where my questions were coming from is I'm not sure what to ask because I don't know the discussions that are going on because I'm not in the working group. So I was kind of looking for something to base my questions or comments on. So it's a little late. Certainly in December when you do the presentation, I'll be excited to see what's shared in November, and then we have time to digest. I do appreciate that gap there, so I have time to think about it. But if there is anything that can be shared with the committee or the public that would help us or think about how you guys got to what or where you were going or what you've been thinking, so that we can air any concerns we have, that would be great. But I'm not trying to push anyone to share anything prematurely. Yeah.
If you try, you'll fail.
That's fair.
Anything else? Yes.
Final
Go ahead.
question or thought, just to consider with the working group, is whether or not any of those participants, non-members of the school committee, will actually come here to share their thoughts directly. I think it might be appreciated also.
Yeah, so that's one of the tasks of the Calendar Study Advisory Working Group is to draft a recommendation and present a recommendation with information, process, key decision criteria, so that you have informed information as you continue to make a decision around the student calendar.
Go ahead, John.
One last question. Well, I don't know if it's the last question. My last question. As residents, as townspeople send questions about the calendar, like we saw today with the public opinion, are they being instructed or tutored as to when these working groups are happening and what the process is going to be? I'm just kind of referring to a recent communication from a resident, a new resident of Northborough interested in his name is mentioned in the calendar, so is that happening? Or could I suggest that happen?
I think we can make that happen. I know that we do have a representative of Jewish faith from clergy from Westborough. Rabbi Rachel has been a part of, so we have. I think we have a good representation from different. And yes, if someone had
that wasn't my point. So I know that there's.
Yes, if you have
I guess
someone.
I'm just suggesting that as communications are coming into a chair, we just remind people of what's happening in the community, what the process is, and what sort of the timeline looks like.
So I can create a one-pager to send out to the committee, so you can
or
you
maybe
can
even post it as a superintendent posting, just to kind of because as people are starting to ask questions about it, maybe it's just be good to information.
Anyone else? Okay. Moving to the next agenda item, which is policy development and distribution. So there are two policies on the agenda in your packet. The first one is I-250, and that's for all three committees. And the name of it currently is Policy on Animals in School. So people have had it for the second reading. We're going to bring that to a vote tonight. However, there's been a kind of a recommendation that we change the name of that policy from Policy on Animals in School to Animals on School Premises During School Hours. So that would be something that we would bring to a vote tonight. We first have to decide whether we want to change the name of the policy, and then we would then vote the policy. Yes, Kelly?
I just want, we had some committee members just asking questions. So at our last meeting, we voted to send it back to the subcommittee and check with legal on it. But to be told that the subcommittee never met. Was it the advice on legal? Is that why we figured you didn't need to have a full meeting about it?
So there were two tasks
Okay.
from the outcome of the last combined meeting. One of the tasks was to add from student arrival to student dismissal, so make it time bound. And the second task is to understand our liability if a citizen brings a dog on the school grounds. So we did seek legal counsel, and basically it is the responsibility of the dog owner or the pet owner who has liability. So we had that answer question and incorporated the time bound from arrival to student dismissal into the policy.
Well, there was a slight exception for the dog owner, in the event that the dog was being abused. But it's not always about the dog owner. It was in there.
So,
I am going to suggest that it go back to the subcommittee again, just because I think it warrants further discussion. When we discussed in the subcommittee and when we were discussing and structuring the policy, one of the biggest problems that we have, at least at several schools that I've been in contact with, is not dogs during school hours. It's actually dogs outside of school hours being let off, being on the playground, being, leaving nice gifts for the kids to run into. And so the discussion, some of the discussion at least have been, how can this policy help that? And at least from my reading of this version, it doesn't, especially with the specific edits of, drop off to dismissal. So I guess my suggestion would be that this go back to the subcommittee and have that discussion more thoroughly.
Chris, I missed what you said when you said, in reading the version, it doesn't discuss.
It doesn't apply to like non-school hour, so it specifically now says arrival to student dismissal. When we were in the subcommittee crafting and talking about the policy, one of the biggest issues with animals on school property is not during school hours. It's after dismissal that animals are leaving presents, and then students are stepping in them, and they're getting into the school, and it's happening repeatedly, unfortunately.
And this policy does not talk about that, right? This
Right.
policy is within school hours.
But legal seems to think that Mass General Law covers it. So I think what we're looking for is probably something to signage or something to state.
Oh, there's been
Massachusetts
signage for
law.
a while. Well, sure,
Or
like I
some
could
sort
call
of
the police
enforcement,
every time
like-
somebody has a dog out on the playground with my kids, but do I want to do that to somebody? Not really. It might be easier or a better version to have a policy that would say, it's the school district's policy that animals should not be on the playground or on school property. I'm just suggesting that I go back to subcommittee to have a deeper discussion.
I mean, we can,
Or we can discuss it here.
well, we can vote it, and if we want to, I don't know, in other words, this thing could be a yo-yo, right? It could be going back and forth. And yes, other comments about this, saying it back.
I don't know that our purview is to create policies that cover everything that happens on the school grounds all the time. I mean, I think of one example, some kid after a football game a couple of years ago drove his car on the field, did some donuts or something. We don't have a policy saying you can't do that, but the kid, I think, got arrested anyway. I mean, it's like, the way I read that legal decision was, we're covered by normal laws that cover such things. So.
Sean.
Is it can a policy be written that would be, I think I know the answer, but I just want to, can a policy be written by the school committee that is enforceable by law enforcement?
What was the last thing you said?
By law, that would be enforceable by law enforcement.
By law enforcement,
Because
okay.
my guess is we could write a policy, and I really don't want Mr. Bevan out on the grounds at 6 o'clock at night policing the situation. And unless there's enforcement about people, dogs doing their business out there or something, I don't think it's hard to change that behavior with just a couple of signs. But if law enforcement is in charge of that or something else, that's outside of school. And I'm not sure a policy enforces after-school hour activities as policy.
Can I answer that? Like, I think that I've seen some that we have that are so simple where it says, this action will be covered under Massachusetts General Law number 155, page 2-X, right? Because that could be the case. It's just that simple, that for animals post-school hours, please, this will be covered under Massachusetts General Law. It's unnecessary, in my opinion, but.
Yeah. Okay. I just have one more question. If we don't vote this tonight, does this hold up any? There's a line here about service animals and therapy animals. Does this hold up current plans or practices that need to take place?
I think that there are policies on paper, and then the practice of what you see happen. In terms of many of our schools have no dogs on the property, and you'll see dog walkers all the time on our school grounds. I think part of the work is really, we don't want people bringing dogs during arrival, dropping off their kids or dismissal. We don't want dogs in school grounds when kids are on the playground or when we're in session. That's our primary concern. Having lived in this role and other principals, it's it's almost impossible to enforce this. We don't have the people power, we don't have the time, and I'm not sure it should be our focus. I'm not sure if the town enforcement could help us with, but I think it's a challenge.
Sorry, but I think Sean's direct question was, if we don't vote tonight, is it going to impact anything as it relates to service animals? I believe the answer is no.
Yeah, it's as
There's
is.
an existing
Okay,
policy.
yeah.
There's just, this whole conversation is about amending the existing policy to limit it within hours. And then I just heard a suggestion to my right, that perhaps we should extend it even further. So I think you can go back to the committee and talk about it some more and come back with a.
I think my concern is that during arrival and dismissal. Like there are, that is an area when people are bringing their dogs to pick up kids, and it'd be nice to have clear expectations. That's what we don't have. If we don't vote this, there's just continued lack of clarity, and it will just take some more time to get the policy through, which is the will of the committee.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was more stemming from the hours, and I will speak. I have a dog. I would walk my daughter to school, and I would, do it. They made, when they were in elementary school, they made requests that people not bring their dogs up close because, some dogs, kids are scared and things like that. But there was really nothing to back the principal's request for it, to keep the dogs away from the kids. And so I think by us having this policy in, it gives the principals the ability to be like, this is the policy, like you can't, versus like, just please don't,
See, I think that's actually exactly my point about why I don't want during school hours in there and have it be at all times, because during NEDP, for example, and
That's
people bring
school
their
hours
dogs
though
around.
considered, I think,
No, this
when
is
kids
from
are on the
dismissal.
press.
It says
But
to-
they're not dismissed yet, I don't think.
Okay, well, maybe that would be a better explanation too, because dismissal to me is like 3:20 or 2:50,
Yeah.
or whatever that time is.
I would think extended day should be covered, or maybe that could be a clarification of all student dismissals, like,
See, and that's,
including extended day or something like that, you know? Because my dog's the cutest little dog, adorable. Bryce can attest to this. He barks. He doesn't like certain people, and he's got a scary bark, but he's not scary, I think, but he does scare people. So I would, stay away, but.
Right, sure,
Yeah.
no, but exactly to your point,
But-
there wasn't anything backing that up. I would rather have it be all the time, not during these hours or during those hours, that's just the policy.
As a note, the way it's written, it's not clear as to whether or not what you're talking, I believe what you just were talking about is the dog can't be walking, but is the dog allowed in the car?
If you're dropping off by car and having, that's not clear either.
Go ahead, Lauren.
So a word change that might make this more clear is from the beginning of student arrival to the completion of student dismissal. It gives a little bit of wiggle room. So that's just an idea. I don't know if legally that has any ground, but
Well, is
that's
this,
just an idea.
is any change a change we can make tonight, or do
Yeah.
we, I'm sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, is the answer yes, that we can actually,
I mean, we could
that we can
make
change?
a motion to accept with the change.
I guess, I mean, we're sort of now sliding into being a policy subcommittee. Okay,
Which I think
the
that's why
more
Kristen
we
was
do
like,
this.
send it back.
Well,
Yeah.
there's two, I think there's two choices. If there's a clear, one choice is bring it to a vote, and identify to the policy subcommittee that more amendments are needed. If we don't vote this policy tonight, we do miss, the teeth that it does have in it. The policy subcommittee could bring it back again. Now, I think process-wise, if a policy subcommittee makes changes, do they then have to go, we have to go through a first read, and then a second, and then, so is it gonna,
No, so
We
come
can
back to
just-
policy subcommittee.
we can just bring it back with a change?
And then
Well,
come back.
I mean, is there a downside to having this policy approved and at the next meeting, have another modification?
Well, we could individually vote them.
Well, we're gonna have
Also-
to individually vote them.
No, I mean, if, we wouldn't have to necessarily wait till December, I'm asking. Like, couldn't we just in October, Northborough approve Northborough for Northborough's thing?
And how do you know, and so you're gonna end up with different policies?
No,
I mean,
I'm
that's one of
saying
the
after
risks.
what I'm saying is after the policy subcommittee meets, then they would give their recommendations to the committee, basically what they do now, and then we all vote yes or no, usually as a collective group. But we could technically vote individually if we wanted to.
So, look, I'm just gonna do a straw vote. Do people, I'd like to see some hands. Do people wanna vote this tonight? Hands up if you do. Sounds like a number of folks wanna vote this tonight, okay. So, and I would like to bring it to a vote tonight, with or without that, okay? And now each committee can do what they want because it's an individual committee vote. But there's absolutely nothing wrong, and I think it's noted that there's some concerns that still need to be adjusted, okay, with this policy. And that could be part of the policy subcommittee's meeting next week, I think, right? Meeting next week, am I right? 23rd, okay, so come on.
Lauren, would you be okay with proposing the
She's gonna make a motion.
amendment? I think that would be suitable and meet a lot of our needs. Thank you.
I think we need to put a
Are you ready
motion
for a
on the
motion?
floor. I think
She's
we
gonna
need-
take a motion.
Okay.
I move.
By the way, can you include in the motion,
That's what she's doing.
can you include in the motion, because that'll eliminate one vote, the animals, the change to the description of the policy that's listed here, so we don't have to have a separate vote for that, okay.
I move
to approve the policy with the new name, Animals on School Premises During School Hours, I-250, with the following change to the first line. During school hours, from the beginning of student arrival to the completion of student dismissal.
I second.
So that's been moved and seconded
For Northborough.
by Northborough. I'll move the same thing for Southborough.
Second?
The region?
I'll move for the region.
Second.
Second, Joan.
Okay, so that's all we need.
So Northborough, roll call vote. Bryce?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes?
Kristen?
No.
Lauren?
Yes.
And myself is a yes, so it passes with 1 no for Northborough.
Correct. The region?
I just want to make a comment that I think that the policy does need, although I'm in support of this policy, I think the policy needs revision. I think it needs more teeth. I think that the school should, and the school can trespass people if they're violating a policy. So I think that the policy needs a little bit more teeth, but I'm in favor of the policy. I'm just going to leave it, that's what I wanted to say earlier. Roll call vote. Joan?
Yes?
John?
No.
Matt?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Kathleen Pelichko?
Yes.
Kathleen Howland?
Yes.
And I am a yes, the motion passes for the region.
Okay, so I'll take the Southborough vote, which is really just going to be a show of hands, but I happen to agree, Chris, with what you said. And I don't really disagree with Kristen's issue. I just want to make sure we get this step taken, and there's going to be further steps, I think, which will improve things. So, any discussion from Southborough? All in favor? All right, that carries unanimously. So, we're done with 5A.
Head south.
Is that me? Why didn't you tell me that was me before?
I shut my phone off because I thought it was me.
Just shut it off.
Roger wants you to go home now.
Or south, head south.
Yeah, probably not the only thing that wants me to do. All right, so item 5B, which is really just to identify that you've got in your packet the teaching about alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, policy J350. It's for everyone, so there's really no action tonight on that. Personnel update.
Sure, so in your packet is the personnel.
GPS signal lost.
Can you stop on that phone?
September 18th, so good news, Maggie Ibrahim is going to begin her role on September 25th, so a week from today. So we're excited to have her join our team. And this evening also, I'd just like to introduce John Parent and Kathy Carmignani, two of our newest members of the technology team, to provide a brief update of the start of the school year.
Thank you for having us. It's our honor to be here. My name is Jonathan Parent. I'm currently the Director of Information Technology for the district. The past 8 years, I was the Director of Technology for the Southborough Public School District, and before that, I worked in the Hopkinton Public School District.
Great. And I'm Kathy Carmignani. I've been with the district for 25 years, teaching in the math department at the high school, also serving in guidance, and then for the past 5 years as the assistant principal at Algonquin. So it's a pleasure to continue my service to the district in this role.
The Information Technology's team's mission is simple. We support the instructional needs of the district. By working closely with the Director of Instructional Technology and her team, we provide the tools and the support required for learning on a daily basis. We also provide efficient and secure access to all data systems, as well as web filtering for our students. We do this by actively listening to all the stakeholders in the district, by making sure that their needs are met, first and foremost. It's not about what I want as an individual, as a person, it's about what the district needs, and make sure that it happens in the most cost-effective and secure way possible.
Great. And part of what I do with my team for the instructional technology side is that I work with educators to integrate the technology that fits within their curriculum, and then providing them tools that they can use to assess student progress so that they can make data-driven decisions for student achievement, and look at platforms that would encourage collaboration and creativity for our students. So together as a team, like we really, our job is to aim to make technology seamless for our educators and our students, and impactful, to make it an impactful part of their educational experience. Another part of my job is science. So this year I'm going to be working with our science departments in K to 8, just looking at ways that they can really think about how to integrate inquiry-based learning into their curriculum. Well, I should say continue how they do that within their curriculum, and just keep working on high-quality instructional practices.
Anyone from the committee have questions? Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
Should be
all this
exciting.
time.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
An excellent job keeping it succinct.
Okay, so we have action on minutes is the next item. And I'm just gonna make a motion that we approve the open meeting minutes. These are for all 4 committees. That we approve the combined open meeting minutes of June 13th, 2024, and the combined special open meeting minutes of August 26, 2024, and I'll make that for the Union.
Second.
Also make that for Southborough,
Second.
Northborough.
So moved for Northborough.
Second.
I need a revision on the combined special open meeting minutes that I was, of August 26th, that I was absent for that meeting. It indicates I was present.
So I guess let the record show that we will adjust that motion. We'll adjust the minutes from that meeting to identify that Chris was absent. Are we all good with that? Okay.
No, I want him to be present.
If anyone wasn't going to be good, I probably might be you. But anyway, Northborough?
Bryce?
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I had to entertain a motion from the region.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, second by John.
Sorry.
Joan?
Yes.
Kristen? Lauren?
Yes.
And myself is a yes, so pass unanimous. With that,
With that change.
Bryce.
The region.
Region. Joan?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Kathleen Pelichko?
Yes.
Kathleen Howland?
Yes.
And I am a yes, passes unanimously for the region.
For Southborough, all in favor? Passes unanimously. For the Union, hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, passes unanimously. We're down, thank you very much. We're down to communications. And we're
No communications.
now moving past communications. Yes, Joan?
There's one communication that's for informational purposes in the packet, and that is the one on update on public comment. And that was, I submitted to the chairs to see if they wanted to include it. On September the 6th, I attended a learning lunch. Everyone had to supply their learning lunch because it was virtual. It was an update on public comment. It was sponsored by MASC. So it was a really good one. And they also sent me the slides, so I wanted everyone to see them. They also have sent a policy on public comment, and I gave it to Greg to give to the chairs to do the policy. I want to give kudos to Chris, because one thing that happened that came up in this conversation was something that happened in our combined meeting when 2 people were here to make a comment, and it was going over the 3-minute time limit, and the person said, "Can I give the rest of my speech to this other person to read?" And Chris said yes, and that is the correct thing to do. The thing that you cannot do is that if 5 people want to speak, but they say, "Oh, I'm going to give we're going to have one speaker, and we're all going to give our 3 minutes to that, and it's 15." You can't do that. But if somebody has a long speech, their time limit is up, they can give it to someone else. So it's a worthwhile thing. I just wanted to put in there for you to see. Unless you want me to talk about every slide. No? Okay, thank you.
You can do that in public comment, and then you'd be limited to 3 minutes.
I would be ejected. Yes.
Okay, thanks. And thanks, yeah, and thanks for having us put it in the packet. I mean, I think I took a look at it, and I think it was helpful.
Yeah.
And we'll bring it to the policy subcommittee meeting on the 23rd as well.
Thank you.
Public comment? Okay, seeing none, we are ready to adjourn. Before we take that vote, I'd like to apologize to everyone for my GPS talking during the meeting. I want you to understand that the reason I had the GPS on is because I wasn't sure how to get to the high school. So it got me
We
here.
thought you were using it to navigate the meeting.
I turned the phone on silent, but I guess GPS doesn't care, right? So we will, let's see, we'll go through the move to adjourns.
Northborough, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kristen, seconded by Joan. Roll call vote. Bryce?
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
Kristen?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. Northborough is adjourned at 7:09.
Region?
The region will go into recess for 10 minutes when the combined meeting ends. We're going to stay in session.
Got it. Motion from Southborough,
So moved.
Second.
moved by Kamali, seconded by Laura. All in favor? And the time is
7:09.
7:09, thank you.
I move for the union.
For the union, and is it seconded?
Second.
Second by Joan. All in favor, show of hands, it's unanimous, same time, 7:09. Thank you everyone very much.
Thank you.
Be safe.